Hi, Randy, K7AGE. I have something in the box here to help out you new guys. Stay tuned. This is the first of a series of videos for the new or soon to be new ham. These videos will show you how to get on 2-meter FM, a very popular band for the new hams. I have bought a very basic 2-meter walkie-talkie, and I'll walk you through getting the radio going. Over at hamradioschool.com, they have some interesting articles for the new ham about to get on 2 meters. One is called, "What frequency do I use on 2 meters?" And the other is, "How far can I talk on my radio?" And I'll get into that here in a couple minutes. Check them out. They have some good stuff. Okay, now for some fun stuff, let's open up the box and see what I got. Get the knife out here and cut this open. When you buy stuff from AES, you get peanuts. I wish they would stop doing that. I have an Icom IC-V80 radio, and we can open up the radio box here. I just want to mention the V80 comes in 2 models. If you buy just the plain V80, you'll get it with a rechargeable battery pack. I bought the Sport version, and this uses AA batteries. And my reasoning behind this is that I'm going to primarily use this for a radio in my go bag or for emergencies and stuff, and I just want the capability of always being able to plug in penlight batteries. So that's why I bought the Sport. Open up the box. We have a warranty card, FCC information, ham radio terms. We've seen that before from Icom. Very nice. We have a V80 quick guide. Help you out. And so we have an antenna, a belt clip, a radio in a bag, a battery pack, a little cover, and that is all. Let's take a look at the radio here itself. It's a handheld, and it fits in my hand. I bought this for a couple reasons. First of all, it was less than $100. It was $99.99 at Amateur Electronics Supply. They have free shipping when you buy over $100. So instead of paying the, I think, $15 for the extra shipping, I bought the little nifty quick pocket guide. I think it was like $6 or something, but I pushed it over so I got free shipping. Another thing I like about this radio is that it uses a BNC antenna connector. I like BNCs better than the SMAs that are so common nowadays. So the antenna just in about a quarter turn, and it mounts right on. One of the questions the new guys always have is, how far can I talk on my new radio? Well, if you go back to the hamradioschool.com page and look at the article, "How far can I talk on my radio?" you'll see the discussion about the line of sight and the curvature of the earth. So if you're holding the radio about 6 feet above the ground, you can go about, best case, 3.5 miles until you reach the edge of the earth. Now, if you have a buddy also on a 2-meter HT, he also has 3.5 miles. So theoretically, you could go about 7 miles between radio to radio, best case, probably over water. Any buildings, hills, trees and such can take and reduce the range. Now, that 3.5 miles is based on you being 6 feet above the ground. Now, I've done some calculations. If the antenna is on a 200-foot tower, it can see 23 miles in all directions, which means now you can be the 3 plus the 23, let's say 25 miles away from the repeater and be able to get into it. And your buddy could be 25 miles the other side, so you'd have 50 miles between the radios. If the repeater's on a tall mountain, let's say 5,000 feet above where you're located, That repeater can see well over 100 miles in every direction. So the repeaters allow us to take this little radio, which between radio to radio would be only a few miles of range, to allow you to go 50, 100 miles. Now all this can vary depending on conditions, locations, the antennas and such, but those are some rules of thumb for you. So when you see those claims for those little FRS radios that say 46 miles of range, I don't think so. Maybe 46 miles straight up, but not between radios on the ground. No. So let's spend a minute to talk about what is a repeater. A repeater is built of a few basic components. The main things is that it has a receiver, a transmitter, an antenna, or maybe two antennas, and some type of controller. So basically the receiver receives the signal from your radio, the controller detects that you're transmitting, and then it turns on the repeater's transmitter, and then the output of the receiver is fed into the transmitter, and your signal is rebroadcast. Now you can't do that on the same frequency, so you have to receive on one frequency and transmit on a different frequency. Typically 600 kilohertz is the difference between the transmit and the receive frequency for most 2-meter FM repeaters. This is called offset. Okay, so to make this work from the antenna, in a repeater you have a separate receiver and a separate transmitter. They each have their own antenna connector. If we were to hook the transmitter and the receiver and the antenna together, when the transmitter would turn on, it would blow up the receiver, so that won't work. So we have a device called a duplexer, and this is a very high quality filter system which has basically 3 terminals or 3 ports to it. One goes to the receiver, one goes to the transmitter, and one goes to the antenna. And the duplexer has enough filter separation that it now allows the transmitter to run without blowing up the receiver or affecting the receiver sensitivity. So now we're able to share one antenna at the very top of the tower for both the receiver and the transmitter. And again, the trick here is that we're sending and receiving on 2 different frequencies, the offset, 600 kilohertz, going through the duplexer, which provides the high quality of filtering to allow all the transmitter and receiver to share a single antenna. Okay, the repeater has a controller to manage the operation of the repeater. One of the first things the controller has to determine is when a signal is being received. This can be done 2 ways. The simple way is that when the squelch opens on the receiver, there's a logic signal coming out of the receiver to the controller for the controller to go into transmit to repeat your audio through. This works great a lot of times. The problem may be with interference. The squelch will open up and the repeater will repeat interference. To help prevent that, it's quite common for your transmitter to also transmit a tone. Now this is a subaudible continuous tone that you'll program into your radio to always be included with your signal. Now the receiver at the repeater is looking for that tone, and when it hears a valid tone, it tells the controller, yep, the tone is there, go ahead and go into transmit. That helps reduce interference. The controller also times how long the repeater's transmitter will be on the air. So it has what's called a timeout timer. Now this can be anywhere from 90 seconds to maybe 3 minutes. It's different on different repeaters. But what will happen is that if you talk too long, he will time out the repeater. The repeater will go off the air. It'll stay off the air until you stop transmitting. At that point, the repeater will come back on and somebody will probably say, you've timed out the repeater. The controller also controls the ID for the repeater, so you'll hear either a Morse code or a voice signal, which is providing the identification for the repeater. And the other thing that's quite common with a controller is to have what's called a squelch tail timer. So when you stop transmitting, the repeater continues transmitting for maybe 3 seconds, and this is just to avoid the transmitter going on and off at the repeater. You may also hear what's called a courtesy tone. So when you stop transmitting and say about a second later, you'll hear a little beep. What that means is that the timeout timer in the repeater has been reset. So now when the next station starts transmitting, he doesn't have to worry about his time adding to your time and timing out the repeater. So you should always wait to hear the courtesy tone if there's one on the repeater. So that's what a controller does in the repeater. I'd like to wrap up this video now. We've covered some of the basic things of the radio, why I bought the V80. We talked about the range of the radios, how far you can expect from walkie-talkie to walkie-talkie, or maybe from your radio to the repeater on a 200-foot tower or up on the 5,000-foot mountain. I've covered a little bit about what's in a repeater, the receiver, the transmitter, the duplexer, why we need an offset, different frequencies for the receiver and transmitter, what a subaudible tone is and why that's required for the repeater. And these are all the basics and the foundations that we need in order to know about programming the radio and getting it set up to run, which we'll cover in our next video. So if you like this, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, reach up and press that subscribe button. And stay tuned for the next video about setting up the radio. Randy, K7AGE. Stay tuned. Hi, Randy. I have something Hi, Randy. Take 3. I will show you how I have purchased one of the reasons here, and the controller also has we've covered so we've covered a lot of the basics here.